Hello, welcome to my review of Pokemon Horizons, Episode 1 and 2. So I'm going to kind of go off the cuff here. So, we finally have this new series. Ash is gone as the protagonist, we've got a new character. So, we're introduced to Liko. So she's a girl from the Paldea region who has recently moved to Kanto to, study at this one school that we find out that her parents went to. And the first episode is basically kind of about our introduction to her Sprigatito, and, the bond that they're sort of forming. Because originally, Sprigatito is kind of, frigid. It kind of, swipes at her and runs off. But kind of over the course of the episode, they're getting close to each other. Liko's learning about Pokemon types and everything. And it's kind of, learning about Sprigatito personally, following it and learning what its behaviors are. So kind of a big thing about Liko is that she's got this mysterious pendant that her grandmother had given her before she set off to Kanto. And this kind of leads into what happens at the end of the episode, where she's attacked by this one group of people, while she's got another group of people looking out for her as well. And throughout the episode, both groups are looking for her. And it's when this one guy kind of approaches her and he's like, "Oh, your grandmother gave me this letter, he wants a pendant back." That's when Liko grows suspicious and she runs away. So that's something I actually quite like. Because unlike Ash, she's being observant to people who are kind of out for her. It's not like Ash not seeing through Team Rocket disguises. She's being observant, she's doing her best to stay out of danger. And she's not really built for battle. It's one of the guys attacks her with a Rhydon, and her and Sprigatito, don't really have the power to take Rhydon down. But they can, send Rhydon to sleep. So she runs on off to a rooftop, and that's when she's attacked by a guy with a Ceruledge. Which, Ceruledge looks sick in the anime, man. Oh my god, it's awesome, I love it. But kind of as this guy is attacking her, someone else swoops in with a Charizard, and we get a really good looking battle. They absolutely nailed this one for the first real action set piece of the show. And kind of in the chaos of this match, that's when Liko decides to run off, and kind of climb up onto a roof, and as she's ready to jump a gap, she jumps, Ceruledge fires off a Psycho Cut, that misses the Charizard trainer, it misses Charizard, and it's about to hit Liko, and that's when her pendant shines and forms a bubble around her. And that was the end of that episode. So honestly, I think it's a really solid introduction. We get an idea of Liko and who she is, and how she kind of acts and everything. She's got a roommate, Anne, that she plays off really well with, I guess. And you can kind of get the idea that she's going to have this arc of coming out of her shell. But we move on to episode 2, where Liko has almost just been hit by a Psycho Cut, and she's in this bubble. And then we see this little Pokemon, this little turtle Pokemon that ends up forming into her pendant again. So she doesn't really have time to process this as she and Sprigatito fall down. And that's when the guy and his Charizard catches her and they fly off towards this one airship that was seen earlier in this episode. The group that attacked Liko send out Pokemon and kind of pursue in the air. So Liko and this other trainer get to the airship, and this is when we find out that this is Professor Freed and his group of Rising Volt Tacklers. Now we don't really get answers to all the questions, like why they were looking for her. But there's not really much time to discuss as, well, they're still kind of under attack by these other guys. So Liko not really sure of what's going on. She's kind of with the Pokemon on the airship and is trying to give an idea of what's going on, because she's saying that this group was very suspicious, asking about the pendant, and they're trying to get away. And then that's when we find out that this is the Explorers group that's attacking her. So I don't know what the Explorers would really want with a pendant, because later on we find out in the episode that they're unaware that the pendant had the powers to become that little turtle Pokemon, make that shield and everything. And as the Explorers are getting closer to the airship, Freed has to decide that he's going to go help and protect Liko. So he gets his captain of the ship, Captain Pikachu, which, by the way, that's a goat. So he gets his Pikachu, he gets his Charizard, which is helping out, power the ship, and he's ready to go and battle. But in the meantime, Liko's kind of, going, whoa, am I the hero in some story? Because, everything that suddenly happens to me. Which is, quite a funny scene, to be honest. But she sees all the Pokemon on the ship kind of, getting scared. They're all caught up in this because of her. So she's willing to give herself up to the Explorers. So the guy who seems to be in the lead, the Ceruledge trainer, kind of approaches her, and he's like saying like, oh, you don't know a lot, because he's asking her all these questions kind of about like, can you trust these guys who have like helped you. Sprigatito tries to protect Liko, like showing that their bond's already come a bit further, but it can't really do anything. So to protect every Pokemon on the ship, Liko decides to give herself up. But as the explorers take her away, kind of one of the Rising Volt tacklers, Molly, jumps up and is like trying to get Liko to stop. Freed flies in on Charizard with Captain Pikachu, and he approaches the Ceruledge trainer and kind of introduces himself as Freed, like says he can't let them take Liko. And the other guy introduces himself as Mephio. They decide to continue their battle from earlier because Freed had to interrupt it to like save Liko. So Freed recalls his Charizard, and then he sends out Captain Pikachu. Cap! Oh my god! Yes, Cap! He's so cool! So first of all, he like battles quite differently from Ash's Pikachu. He's got Thunder Punch, Volt Tackle, and Double Team. So he tries and throws off a Thunder Punch at Ceruledge, and Ceruledge blocks it. So it kind of throws off Ceruledge using like Double Team. Because like a Double Team clone approaches Ceruledge from behind, and like Ceruledge turns around to like go and swipe at it. And then that's kind of revealed, like they've flown into this storm so that Captain Pikachu can get like amped by a lightning bolt. And it like runs in with a Volt Tackle and like pushes Ceruledge to the edge. Oh, it just looks so cool. The action's great. And it's a Psycho Cut being thrown off that kind of like misses its mark and worries the Pokemon on the ship. That Liko tries and calls a stop to the battle. So Freed and Captain Pikachu kind of like watch that. Liko is saying she doesn't want to cause anyone any trouble. And like even though Freed is like, what are you talking about? Like Liko is ready to give up. But you know what? Sprigatito isn't. Because like Sprigatito kicks itself out and is like ready to battle. And Liko kind of understands in a moment that she's been lying to herself. And that's kind of when we get the big moment of these two episodes where Liko commands Sprigatito to use a Leafage. And oh my god, it becomes like this huge attack. It almost like hits Mephio in the face until like Ceruledge guards him. Like it kind of shocks everyone. Like Freed and Captain Pikachu are amazed. Oh, it's such a good scene. And I will say this is also some nice payoff because earlier on in episode 1, Sprigatito couldn't really use Leafage too well. So it kind of like worked together and established like their moves. And like in this big moment of need, Sprigatito really comes through. But it's a really short-lived victory though, because the ship like kind of like goes off to the side and Sprigatito ends up sliding off a battlefield, and the explorers use that as a chance to steal Sprigatito and fly off. And that's kind of where we end on this like cliffhanger. And oh, that was a really good like follow-up to episode 1. This episode seems like this episode builds off of what episode 1 presented us really well. I just really enjoyed watching it. And the action and animation was beautiful. The artwork was fantastic. And it does leave a lot of mystery still, because we don't know why the group of Rising Volt tacklers were chasing Liko. We know that the explorers want the pendant. We don't know why. And I guess they've taken off Sprigatito because now they have a hostage situation. It doesn't really feel like Liko has a lot of agency, but she starts to get that towards the end. Because as she points out, Freed had to save her a second time. And it's going to be really interesting watching how like Liko grows into her own Pokemon trainer and everything. I can't wait to see that. I think the highlight of these two episodes has got to be like the budding bond of Liko and Sprigatito. Because I really like seeing how she gets courage from Sprigatito. You know, like throughout the episode she's worried about Sprigatito like jumping off roofs and everything. And like eventually when she's attacked by a Mephio and his Ceruledge and is like trying to escape, like their only choice is to jump off a roof, and she gets the courage to do that from being with Sprigatito. Then in episode 2, when she's trying to just like give herself up and like not cause trouble for anyone, that's when Sprigatito kind of like jumps, like starts meowing at her, and that's when she like understands like she has to fight. She's been lying to herself. It's really good stuff, and I'm really good to see how these two bond throughout the series. So overall, I'd say that Pokemon Horizons is off to a fantastic start. I really can't wait to see the next episode.